On KGW News, a fallen soldier leaves a big legacy. How a local high school is paying tribute to one of their own. Also tonight,
we're surviving and we're doing everything we can do to survive. We don't need them to add to it.
worlds collide when boundaries blur between an RV park and a homeless camp. Why neighbors say they're out of options.
It's outrageous. It's outrageous. It needs to be stopped.
First, a car chase with Portland police leaves pedestrians hurt and suspects on the run. Your news starts now.
And good evening, I'm David Molko. We begin with that ongoing search for multiple suspects after a chain of events in Southeast Portland, police say, that involved a stolen van, spike strips, and that left one pedestrian critically injured. Let's get straight to Alma McCarty. And Alma, you just got an update from investigators moments ago. What did they tell you?
Well, David, what we have learned is that what ended here at the corner of Southeast Pine and Southeast 26th Street started at Southeast 20th and Division. About a mile or so south of here, police say a caller reported a stolen box truck van just before 5 p.m. Now, not long after, PPB located that van and put down spike strips in hopes of stopping the vehicle. To be clear, police say they did not go after the van with patrol cars. The driver of the stolen van kept going after the spike strips before crashing into another car, as well as two pedestrians. Those male pedestrians were taken to the hospital. One of them has life-threatening injuries. The woman inside of the car that was hit, she was uninjured and didn't go to the hospital. Now, we spoke earlier with Jessica and Brian. They live around the corner from the crash site. They came around just to see after dinner and were completely caught off guard.
Very concerning, a little disturbing as well, just since there are families in this area. We're right next to a school, so it's concerning.
Now, police are now searching for multiple suspects that they say were inside of that stolen van, including the driver. Several teams joining that search. And for a while here, there was a perimeter around this area. They were trying to contain it while they were searching above with planes and down below with canines. Now, obviously, it has since opened back up. They are starting to clear a bit of the scene here behind me. But due to the nature of this crash, the major crash team is out here, is investigating because someone has life-threatening injuries because of this crash. David?
All right, thank you, Alma. Let's move to Portland's homeless crisis now, where a camp in Southeast has gotten so large neighbors say it is taking over a mobile home park on private property. Tenants say they've been threatened, even robbed. Blair Best explains why some say they feel they have no choice but to move.
The sidewalk on Southeast 157th is covered in trash, tents, and broken down cars. Piles of clothing and bikes line this fence, the only thing separating this homeless camp from Tall Firs RV mobile home park.
But it's everybody over here on this side of the park that's having the biggest problems.
Jeremy Robeson runs the park. He says the camp moved in months ago, but it's getting worse. Now tenants are leaving, putting his business in jeopardy.
My ability to get new tenants in there is basically zero because nobody wants to live next to everything that's going on over there.
I've seen a gun out. They fight all the time. They're screaming all the time.
Sandra Lundy's home was just broken into. She wants to move but can't afford it.
We paid for it. We're surviving. And we're doing everything we can do to survive. We don't need them to add to it.
We keep finding them in the middle, aisles and under people's trailers, taking anything from cinder blocks to lawnmowers to children's bicycles.
It's horrendous. I've lived here 13 years. Never once has this ever been like this.
Darla Sheets put barricades up behind her home to stop people from camping there.
It's outrageous. It's outrageous. It needs to be stopped.
They're frustrated with the lack of response from city and police.
There is nothing being done about it. There is nothing being done about it, honey. That's the problem.
The police, even when they show up, will say, well, they're homeless. We can give them a ticket, but we can't really arrest them or do anything about that.
And we used to have a nice street. We had kids playing. We had people walking, feeling safe. Now we don't.
Blair Best, KGW News.
You know, we've reached out to first responders to try to get some clarity over what neighbors told Blair there and what next steps could possibly be. We'll update that when we have that, though. So far, we've not heard back. All right, let's return to the pandemic. It looks like we might soon be back to bringing you daily case updates. Remember those? But let's not quite jump the gun, because here's a snapshot of Oregon with more than 1,400 new cases. Case count steadily rising. But you see from the right side of the chart versus the left, they're still relatively low compared to the spikes we had earlier this year. Let's also take you north of the Columbia, where in Clark County over the past week, the average number of daily cases has doubled. Here's how they break down: about 70 new cases per 100,000 residents or so, and then you'll see what it was last week. Hospitalizations are up to 98% of beds occupied. That sounds really high. COVID patients making up 5.5% of those. For perspective here, public health officials noting that while the numbers are nothing like we've seen in past waves, they're still concerned.
Maybe it's a little bit soon, at least from my perspective, to say, you know, the pandemic is over. We still are watching things really closely, and yeah, case rates are rising.
And Dr. Krager there says we have plenty, I should say, of strong immunity in the community, which should help keep what is starting to look like a surge in check. Experts widely agree one of the best precautions you can take is to get vaccinated, boosted, or re-boosted. Portland city leaders are criticizing the independent review that they commissioned into racial and political bias within the Portland Police Bureau. Now, you might recall they tasked an outside group with taking on some of these big questions, and now they've been left, they say, feeling disappointed and frustrated. Evan Watson took a look at the report, its many recommendations, and why council members say it fell flat.
I'm not really sure what to make of this report. We've paid you for it. You've provided it. It doesn't meaningfully impact anything. And there's still, as I say, there's some good recommendations in here that all intend to continue to move forward on. But I don't think we really address the core issue.
Last spring, Portland leaders asked the independent OIR group to investigate the community perception of racial bias, political bias, and a resistance to change within the Portland Police Bureau. Investigators said they found some disturbing incidents.
Consideration that they were jokes, or to highlight a in custody death case and suggest by mimicking T-shirts that the conduct was tolerable and okay. So there was that undercurrent that was certainly identified.
A Portland police officer's false identification of City Councilmember Joanne Hardesty as a hit-and-run suspect helped spark the review.
What was striking to me in doing that investigation was that it wasn't just one individual that leaked information. It was actually 5 city employees that leaked information in various situations.
But despite that information, Hardesty herself says she's frustrated with the results of the review.
I am profoundly disappointed. This is not what I asked for, and it does not give us a roadmap moving forward.
Mike Janacco with OIR Group says there's a community perception of racial and political bias within the Bureau.
Portland, you have a problem. The community recognizes you have a problem, and the recommendations are intended to address the problem.
But he said his team can't answer whether officer policies and actions are driven by these root causes or not. That's what left Mayor Wheeler wanting more in the wake of the false identification of Hardesty.
And what do we need to do to change to prevent it from ever happening again? That was the genesis of this report, and it didn't meet my expectations.
City leaders didn't vote on the study results, choosing to just take the information as is and move on.
Evan Watson reporting there. Among the 28 recommendations from that report, that the PPB should train officers on community-based programs that are not produced by law enforcement and should do more with racial disparity data. Oh, they are applauding, but no, this is not the way Wall Street wanted to end the week and the month. In the red big time. Let us start with the NASDAQ. It had its worst month since October 2008, the financial crisis. Huge tech sell-off today. Amazon down 14%. The S&P 500 lost 8.8%. Its worst month since the beginning of the pandemic. And the Dow was down nearly 5% for the month. And while your 401k may be going down, electricity bills are going up. Portland General Electric customers, you'll see it here, are facing facing a rate increase, though it is not nearly as high as it could have been. PGE had asked the Oregon Public Utility Commission to raise overall rates by $59 million annually. The increase approved was about $10 million, so bottom line, residential customers can expect their bills to go up about 3 to 4%, and that starts next month. Well, still ahead.